Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today my topic is employees, stakeholder and cooperation. इस जो टॉपिक के बारे में हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और एम्प्लॉयज़ के हुकूक के बारे में बताएंगे। सबसे पहला है ट्रेनिंग, एम्प्लॉयमेंट रिलेशनशिप, shift to knowledge work, no lifetime employment, income shift, quality of work is not inherent or guarantees. The family and medical leaves, unpaid leaves per year have to work year for employees before eligible, coverage for analysis of birth adoption, compensate employees at least 50 employees with 75 mile radius. The family and medical leaves, another employee's right and obligation to employees polygraphy and physiological testing. These tests are not renewable or valued, they are only indicator. The test to some extent can be manipulated and influenced by the operator. The test may include irrelevant questions such as gender, lifestyle, religion, etc. that invite a person policy. Employees do not have control over the test result or how the information is used. Ethic and affirmative action. The ethical principle behind effective action decorate is derived from several principles or based for law. Principle of justice can use be or raised for affirmative action by the claim. Utilitarian principle they can be used to support affirmative action by the claiming that such program highly majority of people in society that affirmative action cannot be shown or prevent to work and suggest it is benefit do not exceed its cost. Right principle. Pursuit of affirmative action can be raised that the protected group have right to difficult treatment. Civil rights, punitive and compensatory damage, burden of proof on employment defended to prove on discrimination, disparate treatment or adverse impact occurred, job analysis and business necessary. Good faith principle expression, some state and another obligation that must be addressed by the employer, like good faith of paid practicals. A good faith principle or promise that employees should be practical, fairness and reasonable and action with employees. For example, an employee should be accommodated that opportunities were offered for a treatment employees to improve his to her performance before the employee was fired. Companies that demonstrate fairness in their dealing and policies with employees show good faith. Right from government legislation. Employees' rights are based on the principle to determine by law. Certain government rights to federal or local, the employees are negotiable in return or employed. For example, right related to minimum wage, sexual harassment based on race, credit, nation, origin, and right assemble. Although employees' rights on based certain legislations are not always negotiated across employees' self-interest, these rights can be disturbed depending on circumstances. Religious discrimination to be discussed later in 1 week. For example, although private corporations they are not properly of governor, certain employees' legal rights are still with corporation boundaries. Technology and employees. Although employees' privacy rights remain largely unbenefited and recording uses Type of court upheld privacy vacation and principal compromise policy. Inquired can be service grants. Court unpaid privacy vacation include instruction like local room and bathroom surveillance. Second, publication for private matter. Third, disclosure of medical records. Fourth, operation of employees' name and commercial uses. Parasite employees, perishable employees privacy injuries include: number 1, crime history inquires, credit history inquires. Number 3, access to medical record. Employees' rights: right based on the moral claim, right freedom, right to well-being, right based on principle determined by law, right related to minimum wage, sexual harassment, discrimination based on race, grade, age, national origin, and gender, disability, the right as symbol. Another employment law: age discrimination in employment, Equal Pay Act prohibited discrimination, payment or time by pay based on gender, based on the decrement of comparable worth. Ethic and affirmative action, principle of justice, and utilitarian principle, right principles. Drug testing guidance: testing should be administered only the job that a clear and present potential to cause to other. Periodical testing limitations should include previous notice those making test. Employees test should be notified of the result. Employees test should be informed that they are entitled to appeal the result. Employees should be demonstrate how the information will be kept confidential or destroyed. 4 step for manager to use when preparing corporate privacy policy. Prepare a policy impact statement, contract a comprehensive privacy plan, training employees who handle personal information, make a privacy part of social responsibility program. Develop a person and growth development plan for each employee's and Gen Xers values and enjoy learning and benefit from their. Millennials and Gen Xers value and enjoy learning and benefit from their work when they are engaged, assisting them to develop specific future goal and marketable skills is motivational and will focus their hard work, ethic, and toward positive effort and outcome. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is JUNAID. I am from BBA class 2D. Today my topic is employee and stakeholder and corporation. Employee is someone who gets paid, works for a person or a company. Worker don't need to work full time to be considered as employee. They need to be a simple work and employer the person or business paid them. एम्प्लॉय वो होता है जो जिसको पेड किया जाता है और वो कंपनी के लिए काम करता है और किसी के आगे काम करता है. An example of employee is an individual who is employed by McDonald's and it's paid a certain amount of money. एम्प्लॉय इंडिविजुअल काम करते हैं मैकडोनल्ड्स और certain amount of money pay for each hour. When an individual begins a long-term working relationship with the business, that person become an employee. जब वो लंबे अरसे के लिए काम करता है तो वो एम्प्लॉय कहलाता है. How can employee? It is important that both employee and employed to understand exactly what an employee is. ये बहुत ज़रूरी होता है कि एम्प्लॉय और एम्प्लॉय को अंडरस्टैंड करना कि एम्प्लॉय है क्या, हु इज़ व्हाट एन एम्प्लॉय इज़, कि एम्प्लॉय असल में है क्या। हाउ कैन एम्प्लॉय वर्क्स। Employee have special protection as well as certain obligation compared to the other of workers. Conversely, an employer usually has more control over its employee, but it also have tax obligation to meet on the employee behalf. When an employer determines that its worker or employees, it must withhold. Stakeholder कहते हैं, stakeholder is a party that have interest of a company and can either affect or be affected by the business. Stakeholder वो पार्टी होती है जो कंपनी में इंटरेस्ट होती है और उसके साथ affected by the business. The primary stakeholder in a typical corporation are its investor, employee, customer and supplier. जो प्राइमरी स्टेक होल्डर होते हैं कॉरपोरेशन के इन्वेस्टर भी होते हैं, एम्प्लॉय भी होते हैं, कस्टमर और सप्लायर भी होते हैं। एंड एंटिटी स्टेक होल्डर कैन बी बोथ इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। और एंटिटी स्टेक होल्डर होते हैं इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दोनों में, इन्हीं का काम दोनों में होता है। इंटरनल एंड एक्सटर्नल स्टेक होल्डर। इंटरनल स्टेक होल्डर आर द पीपल हु इंटरेस्टेड इन अ कंपनी comes through a direct relationship such as employment, ownership or direct investment. Internal stakeholder जो होते हैं वो कंपनी में इंटरेस्टेड डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप के लिए डायरेक्ट काम करते हैं कंपनी में, सच एन एम्प्लॉयमेंट, ओनरशिप और डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट, ओनर और डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं। एक्सटर्नल स्टेक होल्डर आर दोज हु डू नॉट डायरेक्टली with the company but are affected somehow by the action and outcomes of the business. External stakeholder वो होते हैं जो कंपनी में डायरेक्टली काम नहीं करते बट और किसी एक्शन के ज़रिए नज़र आते हैं कंपनी में। सप्लायर, क्रेडिटर एंड पब्लिक ग्रुप आर कंसिडर्ड एक्सटर्नल स्टेकहोल्डर्स। सप्लायर, क्रेडिटर और पब्लिक ग्रुप जो होते हैं एक्सटर्नल स्टेकहोल्डर कहलाते हैं। Internal and the external. Stakeholder management क्या होती है? Stakeholder management is the process of maintaining good relationship with the people who have more impact on your work. Stakeholder management चीज़ों को मेंटेन करती है, रिलेशनशिप लोगों के साथ रिलेशनशिप अच्छा करती है, हुआ मोर इम्पैक्ट ऑन योर वर्क, जो आपके काम पे और असर करते हैं। कम्युनिकेटिंग विद ईच अदर, कम्युनिकेट करती है एक दूसरे को। विद द राइट वे कैन प्ले अ वाइटल पार्ट इन कीपिंग देम ऑन अ बोर्ड। You can start or devise a plan for communicating with your stakeholder once you have appeared them on a power interested. Remember, the aim of your communication with stakeholder is to win or maintain their support for your project. जो आपका एम होता है, जो आपका मंजिल होती है, कम्युनिकेशन विद स्टेक होल्डर के साथ कम्युनिकेट करना और उनके एतमाद को जीतना, मेंटेन देयर रिस्पेक्ट, उनकी सपोर्ट साथ रखना फॉर योर प्रोजेक्ट, आपके काम के लिए, के प्रोजेक्ट किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट के लिए अच्छा है। समराइज ईच स्टेक होल्डर स्टेटस, डिसाइड व्हाट यू वांट फ्रॉम स्टेक होल्डर। समराइज करना है हर स्टेक होल्डर को, डिसाइड व्हाट यू वांट फ्रॉम ईच स्टेक होल्डर। Identify you may message to each stakeholder, identify your stakeholder communication approach, implement your stakeholder management plan. Corporation sometimes call a crop is a legal entity that's separate from its owner. Corporation किसी टाइम sometimes call a crop legal entity कहलाती है, that's जो उसके अंदर से अलग आती है its owner. Corporation can make a profit, be taxed and be held legal usable. Corporation offer the strongest protection to its owner.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed SHAHBAZ. Today my topic is employee, stakeholder and corporation. We will briefly discuss about employee, stakeholder and corporations. First of all, we will discuss trends in employment relationships, shift to knowledge work, no lifetime employment, income shift down for low middle professionals up to highly skilled, quality of work life is not inherent or guaranteed. The family and medical leave, unpaid leave per year, have to work 1 year for employer before eligible, coverage for illness or birth adoption. Campaign that employs at least 50 employees with a 75-mile radius. Other employees' rights and obligations to employees, polygraph and physiological testing. These tests are not reliable or valid, they are only indicator. The test to some extent can be manipulated and influenced by the operator. The test may include irrelevant questions such gender, lifestyles, religions, etc. They invade a person's privacy. Employees don't have control over the test results or how the information is used. Balancing work and life in family. As more dual career and child rearing couples enter the workforce, conflicts and problems involve over roles and responsibilities as families cope with workplace demands. Working family models illustrating these tensions have evolved over the decades. For such models, which are summarized as number 1, an early model depicting complete separation of work and family life and issues, in which men worked and women maintained the family. Number 2, an overlapping model of work and family life spheres in which the boundaries were still fuzzy but roles were recognized as being interrelated. Number 3, a model that defined multiple roles and responsibilities including his work or her work. Next, ethics and affirmative action. The ethical principles behind affirmative actions debate. Affirmative action doctrine is derived from several principles, the best for law. Principles for justice can be used to urge for affirmative action by the claim. Utilitarian principle, they can be used to support affirmative actions by claiming that such programs highly majority of people in society that affirmative action cannot be shown or proven to work and suggest that its benefits don't exceed its cost. Right principle proponents of affirmative action can urge that protect groups have rights to different treatment. Civil Rights Act. Punitive and compensatory damages, burden of proof on employer defendant to prove no discrimination, job related ends, business necessary. Good faith principle inspection. Same states have other obligations that must be addressed by employers like good faith or faith practice. A good faith principle on premise that employees should practice fairness and reasonable in their actions with employees. For example, an employee should demonstrate that opportunities were offered for a terminated employee to improve his or her performance before the employee was fired. Companies that demonstrate fairness in their dealings and policies with employees show good faith. Other employment laws: age discrimination in employment, Equal Pay Acts prohibited discrimination payments and overtime pay based on gender, based on the doctrine of comparable worth. Rights from government legislation. Employees' rights are based on principles determined by law. Certain government rights, federal or local, of the employees are not negotiable in written or implied. For example, right related for the minimum wage, sexual harassment based on race, creed, national origin, and right assemble. Although employees' right-based certain legislation are not always negotiated according employees' self-interest, these rights can be distribution depending on circumstances. Reverse discrimination, tops discussed later, is one weak example. Although private corporations are the property of the owner, certain employee legal rights are still with the corporation boundaries. Technology and employees' privacy. Although employee privacy rights remain largely undefined regarding use and abuses of emerging technologies in the workplace, the following main types of court upheld privacy violations and permissible employee privacy inquiries can serve as guidelines. We will shortly mention court upheld privacy violations. Intrusion, locker room and bathroom surveillance, publication of private matters, disclosure of medical records, appropriation of an employee's name for commercial uses, eavesdropping on employee conversations and retrieving or accessing employee email if unauthorized. Now, permissible employee privacy include criminal history inquiries, credit history inquiries, access to medical records, due process requirements, right to public hearing, rights to have peer evaluation, rights to obtain external attribution, right to an open mutually approved governance procedure, employee rights, right based on a moral claim, right freedom, right to well-being, right based on principle determined by law, right related to minimum wage, sexual harassment, discrimination based on race, creed, national origin, gender or disability, the right to assumable. Now, others employment laws. An age discrimination in employment, Equal Pay Act prohibited discrimination payments, overtime pay based on gender based on the doctrine of comparable worth. Ethics, affirmative action, principle of justice, utilitarian principles, right principles. Sexual harassment. Unwelcome sexual advances, request for sexual favors and other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature constitute sexual harassment. The courts have defined sexual harassment as conduct ranging from blatant grabbing and touching to more subtle hints and suggestions about sex. Forms of sexual harassment include the following: unwelcome sexual advances, coercion, favoritism, indirect harassment, physical conduct, visual harassment. For example, court have ruled that sexual harassment was committed when graffiti was written on men's bathroom walls about a female employee and when pornographic pictures were displayed in the workplace. Drug testing guidelines. Tests should be administered only for the job that there are clear and present
potential to cause to other. Procedural testing limitation should include previous notice to those being tested. Employees' test should be notified of the result. Employees' test should be informed that they are entitled to appear the result. The employee should be demonstrate how the information will be kept confidential or destroyed. Employer guidelines with extended liability rulings. Exercise reasonable care to prevent and correct for any harassment. There should be an ethics policy and a complaint procedure present, made known to every employee, readily available and used in training. The EEOC enforcement guidelines provide an excellent source of training materials, quickly and effectively address all harassment complaints. Now 4 steps for manager to use when preparing corporate privacy policies. Prepare a privacy impact statement. Contract a comprehensive privacy plan. Train employees who handle personal information. Make privacy a part of social responsibility programs. Develop a personal growth and development plan for each employee. Millennials and Gen Xers value and enjoy learning and benefit from their work when they are engaged, assisting them to develop specific future goals and marketable skills in motivational and will focus their high work ethic and energy toward positive effort and outcomes. Thank you. Allah Hafiz. Jazakallah.
Today my topic is employees, stakeholder and cooperation. इस जो टॉपिक के बारे में हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और एम्प्लॉयज़ के हुकूक के बारे में बताएंगे। सबसे पहला है ट्रेनिंग, एम्प्लॉयमेंट रिलेशनशिप, शिफ्ट टू नॉलेज वर्क, नो लाइफ टाइम एम्प्लॉयमेंट, इनकम शिफ्ट, क्वालिटी ऑफ वर्क इज़ नॉट इनहेरेंट और conjurate guarantees. The family and medical leaves, unpaid leaves per year have to work year for employees before eligible, coverage for analysis of birth, adoption, compensate employees at least 50 employees with 75 mile radius. The family and medical leaves, another employee's right and obligation to employees polygraphy and physiological testing. These tests are not renewable or valued, they are only indicator. Scan the test to some extent can be manipulated and influenced by the operator. The test may include irrelevant questions such as gender, lifestyle, religion, etc. that invite a person policy. Employees do not have control over the test result or how the information is used. Ethic and affirmative action. The ethical principle and behind effective action decreed is derived from several principles are based for law. Principle of justice can use be or raised for affirmative action by the claim. Underlying principle they can be used to support affirmative action by the claiming that such program highly majority of people in society that affirmative action cannot be shown or prevent to work and suggest it is benefit do not exceed its cost. Right principle. Pursuant of affirmative action can be raised that the protected group have right to difficult treatment. Civil rights, punitive and compensatory damage, burden of proof on unemployment defended to prove on discrimination, disparate treatment, or adverse impact occurred. Job analysis and business necessary. Good faith principle expression. Some state and another obligation that must be addressed by the employer, like good faith of paid practicals. A good faith principle or promise that employees should be practical, fairness and reasonable and their action with employees. For example, an employee should be accommodated that employees that opportunities were offered for a treatment employees to improve his to her performance before the employees was fired. Companies that demonstrate fairness in their dealing and policies with employees show good faith. Right from government delegation. Employees' rights are based on the principle to determine by law. Certain government rights to federal or local, the employees are negotiable in return or employed. For example, right related to minimum wage, sexual harassment based on race, credit, nation, origin, and right assemble. Although employees' rights are based, certain legislations are not always negotiated across employees' self-interest. These rights can be disturbed depending on circumstances. Religion discrimination to be discussed later in 1 week. For example, although private corporations they are not properly of governor, certain employees' legal rights are still with corporation boundaries. Technology and employees. Although employees' privacy rights remain largely unbenefited and recording uses type of court upheld privacy vacation and principal employees policy inquired can be service grants. Court unpaid privacy vacation include instruction like local room and bathroom surveillance. Second, publication for private matter. Third, disclosure of medical records for operation of employees' name and commercial uses.